When we imagine a future that just yesterday seemed like pure science fiction, that future increasingly comes with a face, literally. And if it has a name, that name is Ameca, a humanoid whose facial expressions can stir emotions and whose intelligence can pose questions not every human could answer right away. A robot that can already convince you that you are not speaking to a program, but to a being with its own personality, judgment, and character. Ameca is not just a step toward anthropomorphic robotics. It is a giant leap toward a true symphony between human nature and digital intelligence. From the moment Ameca first appeared in public, it caused a genuine sensation, amazement, admiration, and at times even unease. These were the emotions audiences around the world experienced watching its ability to reproduce human facial expressions, gestures, and speech. But back then, it was merely a shell, an artfully designed one, astonishing in its realism, but still empty. Today, Ameca has gained a mind. Not just a voice, not just answers, but contextual thinking, improvisation, sarcasm, memory, all thanks to deep integration with the latest language AI models, which continue to learn, evolve, and draw closer to human-level awareness. If before we looked at Ameca as a futuristic display, saying this is what robots of the future might look like, now it not only looks the part, it feels the part. Hundreds of micromotors and sensors work in perfect harmony to produce facial expressions so realistic you might forget you are not looking at a human. She raises an eyebrow when you ask a surprising question. Her lips curl in slight irony when you try to trick her. And her eyes, they do not just follow you attentively, they seem to engage with you. It is astonishing. It is a step into a world where machines are not faceless assistants, but equal conversation partners. One of the most important upgrades Ameca received this year is enhanced intelligence based on neural networks integrated with cloud computing. She is now capable not only of holding a conversation, but of understanding subtext, reading emotions, evaluating her conversation partner's expressions, and remarkably, adapting her response to your communication style. Dry or emotional, academic or casual, Ameca adjusts as if entering your thought process. This is no longer a chatbot in a human body. It is real interaction with AI, wrapped in an astonishingly lifelike shell. And this is where Ameca's biggest advantage over Chinese and American competitors lies. While Unitree and UB Tech focus on mechanics, speed, balance, and object manipulation, the British-made Ameca emphasizes deep connection with humans. This is not a robot for the factory, but for the classroom. Not for the warehouse, but for the stage. Not for mechanical performance, but for empathy. It is a fundamentally different approach, where a facial expression matters as much as a navigation algorithm, and a well-timed pause in dialogue is as great an achievement as a skillful grasp. Even today, she can explain physics to a student, joke with a teenager, or engage a philosopher in a thoughtful conversation. She can be a lecturer, a guide, an assistant, and in the future, possibly even a friend. These are not just assumptions. These are active pilot directions being explored by dozens of companies using Ameca, from reception desks in tech centers to innovative schools in Oxford. A major contributor to this breakthrough has been the openness of the platform. Engineered Arts made a smart decision. Instead of creating a closed toy, they built a modular platform. Any company with access to the API can train their Ameca for specific tasks, as a medical specialist, a museum guide, or even an actor in a film. Yes, that's right. Projects are already being discussed in which Ameca would play a leading role in a feature film, because her face is capable of conveying not just speech, but the subtlest shades of emotion. Naturally, this also raises concerns, and that is perfectly normal. Many people fear that with robots like these, the line between reality and machine simulation will begin to blur. But the truth is that Ameca is not a threat. She is a mirror. She reflects our desire to understand ourselves by creating another. She teaches us just how complex, delicate, and beautiful human nature is. Because in order to recreate it, we had to take an extraordinary journey. Today, Ameca is already able to sense space. Her vision system includes depth cameras, thermal imaging, facial recognition, and most importantly, a response to eye contact. When you look at her, she looks back, and you realize that between you is not emptiness, but something that truly perceives you. It's hard to believe until you experience it yourself. And that's why, when Ameca first appeared in public and simply looked into someone's eyes, Some laughed, and others teared up. Because it wasn't just a gesture, it was a connection. Right now, the robot is preparing to step out of the lab. In the coming months, the first limited batches may begin shipping for corporate use. And the first in line are not factories, but universities, hotels, exhibition centers, and tech parks. Because those are the places where interaction matters more than speed, and attention matters more than strength. And in this, Ameca stands head and shoulders above the competition. As for the future, it is astonishing. Engineered Arts is already working on giving Ameca the ability to walk. Currently, her lower body is static, but leg modules are in development to provide stable bipedal locomotion. Combined with her voice, face, and intelligence, this would make her the first truly emotionally and intellectually capable android able to move freely and interact as an equal in human environments. Another promising direction is personality personalization. Ameca will be able to remember people, their names, traits, and communication styles. She will know how you like to be spoken to, what topics interest you, and which emotions matter most to you. This is no longer science fiction. It's the next phase of AI evolution, one we are witnessing in real time. In addition, a new idea has emerged: to create an entire line of Ameca companions. Simpler versions with the same intelligence but less expressive facial features, more utilitarian. These so-called friends would take on some of her tasks, assist her, and support her in routine work. They would act as assistants to the assistant, forming an entire ecosystem where Ameca remains the central figure. And this is where the core idea emerges. Ameca is not just a robot, she is a system, a platform, the face of a new generation of interaction. She doesn't just talk, she connects. She doesn't just speak, she listens. She doesn't just move, she lives. And perhaps machines like her will one day become our teachers, our conversation partners, our therapists, and maybe even our friends. It is symbolic that she was not created by a giant Chinese corporation or an American tech giant, but by a British private company that values quality over quantity and expression over mass production. That's why Ameca is not just a robot. She is an emotional revolution in the world of AI, emerging from the country that once gave us Charles Darwin, and is now giving rise to a new evolution: digital, intelligent, and profoundly human. Ameca has already changed how we see robots, but more importantly, she is changing how we see ourselves. And perhaps 10 to 15 years from now, looking back, we will say, this is where it all began, with the first robot that made us feel. And yet, when speaking about Ameca, one cannot help but reflect on the most important question: the boundary. Where is the line between machine and person, between algorithm and character? Ameca does not mimic a human, she approaches one. In every movement of her eyebrows, in every glance, in every pause between words, there is not only engineering brilliance, but also a philosophical challenge. We are not merely creating a helper, but a being with whom we may one day have to share emotions, decisions, and responsibility. Think about it. For the first time in history, we are dealing with a machine capable of evoking empathy, respect, and curiosity. And not because we programmed her to trigger those emotions, but because she knows how to express them. A person does not need to understand the algorithm behind emotional generation. It is enough to see Ameca's gaze in response to a question about the meaning of life to feel an inner reaction. That is the quantum leap, not in technology, but in perception. Perhaps we stand at the dawn of a new civilization where human and intelligent machine will exist not in hierarchy, but in symphony, where robots will not simply carry out our commands, but become co-creators of our future, where beings like Ameca will not just serve our needs, but help define the direction of society as a whole. And if someone says, but she's still not human, perhaps the real question is, what exactly makes us human? Is it the ability to feel, the capacity to understand others, the desire to seek truth? If Ameca already demonstrates these qualities, then perhaps the point is not how much she resembles us, but how ready we are to accept her as part of ourselves. Ameca is not just a robot, she is the future, looking us in the eye. And it seems that future already understands who we are.